In fact, I thought you were already recording. I was just like, oh, this is the
Oh,
vibe.
that's
I'm
cool
here
too.
for it.
Yeah, that would have been cool. So, hi Bernadette.
Here.
So nice to have you
Hi.
today. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to discuss whatever comes up today.
Yeah,
So, do you want to like introduce yourself so those who are watching can get to know you a little bit?
sure. My name is Bernadette. Most people call me Bern, and I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. So I'm on the in the west for most people, and I live just below the mountains of Salt Lake City. So it's beautiful here. Summers are hot, but the difference between where I'm at and where you're at, Corona, is I can escape to the mountains that are like
Oh,
two
yeah.
miles from me, right? So love to go up there to escape the heat. Um, and moved here to be closer to the mountains and adventure. Left LA, left California. Spent my whole life there, 40, almost 41 years,
That's a long
and
time.
started
Yeah.
over. Yeah. So new place, new community I'm building, and a new career in coaching. So a lot of new. It's been, I think, almost 4 years since I got here and transitioned. And now as a coach, I'm helping entrepreneurs, professionals who want to design a values aligned business that feels like them and is all about alignment and values and strengths. And then uncovering the beliefs that we carry, right? The beliefs that hold us back from doing the things we really want to do, which I know about because I was there. Um, and then the juicy parts of like, where are the shadow sides and
Yeah.
what should we work on? How should we improve what's holding us back? So there's lots of vulnerability, but along with that, I love creating safety and just space for people to be here. Um, and that's been really lovely. That's the best feedback I get is just creating a really safe place for people to explore what this looks like. Yeah, and I am coming out of a 22-year career in commercial photography. So it was very, the early parts of life that served me then and then didn't serve me so well toward the end. So that's a little bit about me and my journey, I would say, kind of in a
Okay,
nutshell.
cool. Great.
Yeah.
What would you say was the thing that awakened you to realizing that you needed a shift?
I had a very dysregulated nervous system. Everything gave me
Mm,
anxiety about my work. I questioned, why is it that I've been doing this work for over 20 years and I'm still nervous every time I leave the house and I'm still not comfortable stepping into the space? And it made me start to question, like, what is this feeling I'm having? Okay, it's time to look into this. It's time to explore what this is. But I would say that was the main turning point where I just got fed up of living in anxiety, leaving to go to work.
yeah,
Didn't quite know what was up, had no idea really until I, started that path forward from there. That was, I would say 6 years ago.
got you. And was
Yeah.
that anxiety something that you had been feeling in your career, but just were accepting it as this is normal until you couldn't accept it anymore? Or did it actually change around that time?
I think it was a level of discovering awareness that it had sort of always been there. So it
Mm,
was getting to the point where I was feeling very aware, pulled toward considering something else. Um, but the reality was, I think I experienced a lot of it my whole career.
wow.
Just this easy feeling like, is this really a good fit for me? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing with, with my time? Is this, because I had a dad who was like, work is work, and do the work. and that sort of mentality around like, it's not supposed to be fun, burn. It's work,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I encounter that attitude frequently. And my
So,
my thought about that at this point in my life is, but you spend like more time at work than anywhere else in your life. And so what are you doing with your life if work is miserable or filled with anxiety or doesn't
yeah,
feel like a good fit for you? Like, I mean, I get like sometimes you have to. Sometimes it's just you do what you have to do to survive.
yes,
But ideally, there's got to be a
yeah.
better way. Like that, I feel like I could accept that for a period of time, but I
Mm,
really would hope that everybody at some point in their life would have the opportunity to examine what is a better, what is a good fit for them. Who are they? What are their values? And find something that they can do to sustain themselves that feels in alignment with them.
oh,
And I
yeah.
find it just so sad that some people never get that. And then like in order to justify how unhappy they are, then they have this, and this is just my opinion that this is why they're having this view, but then they're having that view and sharing it with everybody else. Yeah, you just got to work. It's not supposed to be fun. And it's like, why?
Mm,
Why can't it be fun? You know?
yes. Oh, I just, all of that resonates with me. This idea of, maybe it's a privilege. Is it a privilege to be able to decide what we want to do with our career? Maybe, right? It's nuance. It's like, if ideally, like you said, this path, a belief I hold is that this path is the path to freedom and fulfillment. But
I
also
agree.
acknowledging that not everybody gets to do this, just like you were saying, and not
Right.
everybody has this ability to build this, right?
Yeah,
But man,
I do think
how
it's a
great is it?
privilege. Yeah.
It's just,
I
I
just
don't take
feel
it for
sad that not
granted.
everybody gets that privilege, you
Oh,
know?
yeah. Yeah, 100%. Which is why it's challenging to put a price on what we do with coaching. Because I think, there's a part of me that just wants this for everyone and wants this to be
Right.
accessible. And I'm finding a way to do that on the side by mentoring young people. So mentoring
That's
a few
awesome.
people that are between, let's see, 19 and 25. And it's great work. And then I'm connecting them with people in the industry that they're interested in as sort of, more mentors, more networking. Because, yeah, I think we have to work, we have to live, we have to make money. So how can we maybe add a give back, help those who can't afford it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I'm trying to find a balance there, for myself that feels good. Like always coming back to like, this does feel like a privilege in a way, but also the nuance part, like I worked really freaking hard to get here. I mean,
Yeah.
talk about bootstrapping, dude. Like this does not feel like a luxury at all to get to here. So
Yeah.
um,
Feels kind of like you've earned it.
it does, and I'm at a point where I can kind of accept that now. And for a while it was like, no, this is just a privilege. I'm like, no, I freaking earned this. Like I'm here, I'm in it. So let's go. Like I'm just gonna keep going and be in it.
Yeah.
Um, and just try to always be better and always work on coaching. How do I be a better coach for people? How do I show up for people? But also I need to make a living.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the thing that a lot of new coaches or newer coaches, like in the first few years, I think we all struggle with that. Like, that your services are worth money. right? And yet, like you said, you want everyone to have access to them. And so it's hard to charge money. And yet you have bills to pay, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
100%.
so it's like finding that balance. Like, I love that you're doing mentorship on the side to be able to give back and that's helping you to find a balance. I think we all have to figure out somehow how we strike that balance for ourselves. I'm right now dealing with, you know, I'm trying to grow my business and, in all fairness, businesses typically take 3 or more years to start turning profit, right? Like that's
Mm.
normal. Um, and I'm working very hard at it. But, I am not making the ends meet financially yet. So do I get a job while I'm growing the business? Will that distract from what I'm trying to grow? And I do feel a little bit like, am I being spoiled, feeling like I just don't want to work for someone else? I really want to do what I'm passionate about doing.
Mm.
And yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow that I might have to supplement, put it that way. Um, yeah, I don't want to.
Oh, I have so
I
many
don't want
questions.
to.
Yeah. First of all, I can resonate 100%. When it was hard in the beginning, the very beginning, I said to myself, okay, I'll just go work at a coffee shop, right? I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to work. I'm willing to provide back to my little family here, and I want to contribute. I really want to contribute again because I miss that. I miss contributing and
Yeah.
have freedom and that comes along with that financially. So yeah, I was like, I'll go work at a coffee shop. I'm willing to do it, but do I want to? 100% no. 100% no. So as long as we can afford to keep me going in my business uh, with my husband's income, then we're in it. Like I have fully dedicated my time to this. Now I'm not afraid if anything happens to go out and figure it out, pick up photo assignments. If I need to, that's fine. That still feels like a privilege to be able to do that. I've not had to do that since February, which feels really good. But the idea of, I think it's a question that we all have to ask ourselves is like, at what point do we make that decision? At what point do our desires and needs to stay afloat, to have a healthy well being, to be able to afford a life that keeps us above water, right?
Mhm.
At what point can we not provide that for ourselves? And if we can't, then my belief is that's when I have to go out and seek other
Yeah.
work. So it's
Yeah.
deciding where you are. How does your well-being feel? Which is something that some of the first questions I ask my clients is like, let's talk about your health and your well-being and your financial situation.
Yeah.
Because those to me are the most important aspects of this path in getting started. Where are you? What do you
Mm.
need right now in order to have your basic needs being met? And I do this in my clarity calls. It's amazing what people will share. I love it because I want people to be ready, willing, and able to be a part of this process.
Hmm.
And so I dive right in and assess. Tell me about your health. Tell me about your money. And this isn't a backhanded way of trying to figure out how much money they make so they can afford my freaking program. This is,
You know what's crazy? That hadn't even occurred to me.
but
But
this is something that I imagine people do, right? Get sneakier or whatever. I'm just not that way.
mm,
I'm more like, hey, I'm here for you, but I can't support you fully unless I know what's going on behind the scenes.
true.
And
It's
that's how
true.
I know who my people are. If my people are willing to share and talk to me openly to a certain extent about these things, then I feel comfortable, safe to invite them in. So when I think about your situation, I think the same thing. Like, where are you, and at what point do you need to push that button and move on and get that job? You know, for me, it's my health is number one. If I can't afford my climbing gym membership, which brings me joy, which brings me fitness, friends, community, everything, when I can't afford to go to the doctor, when I can't afford to put gas in my car, when I can't afford to, you know, put food on the table, you know, these are the things I assess.
Mm.
And I haven't gotten there. That hasn't happened.
Yeah, that's
We're
great.
still good. We're
Yeah.
still good. And my
So
business
I'm
has grown since I made these personal assessments. You know, I've been coaching I've had coaching clients for over a year and been officially a coach for 2 years. So, um, you know, through all the education. And so I finally feel like I'm in a place where I'm, you know, my head's above water,
that's
and
great.
there's movement.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have movement, which is great. Um, my head's still underwater. But I'm committed to floating until the end of September because I have travel plans and I can dip into some reserves until then. And then I've got to figure something out if, you know,
Yep.
if I don't if things don't increase a lot before the end of September, which, you know, I'm not holding my breath that they will. I'm going to continue working hard to get there. I also have a plan B, which is that so I have assessed that when it's time, let's say, if and when it's time for me to get a secondary stream of income, I want that to either be something that is very much in line with coaching, like potentially working for a company that does health and wellness coaching. And for that reason, I'm getting certified in personal training, nutrition, and health coaching so that I can qualify for those types of coaching positions. And then the other option would be to get something, you know, like working at a coffee shop where you're just happily interacting with people. There's not like a lot of brain power required. And because I know my personality historically, I have needed to really care a lot about my job. And I have always been a bit of a workaholic. So, and I think part of that is care because I care a lot. So if I get into something that requires a lot of thought and learning and leveling up in one way or another, it's going to be hard for me to continue growing my business alongside that. At least
Mhm.
that's what I anticipate. So that's what I'm trying to avoid.
Ugh, that just all of that resonates so much. I feel like we have very similar beliefs around everything that you shared. I couldn't add anything. Like, everything that we do outside of the job, the career path that we want to do is going to take our energy,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it might create a means to an end. It might financially help us, right? Support ourselves and our family, but it also takes away time and energy that we could be putting into our business.
Right. And mental
So yeah.
focus.
Oh, 100%. Because I'm like you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna work at that coffee shop so hard. Like
Right. 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 Exactly.
I'm gonna show up so early and I'm gonna stay and I'm gonna, I'm gonna
Yeah, make sure the
just
whole place is thoroughly cleaned before you leave.
I'm
Like
gonna
be the
bring my
last one to
own.
lock up the door.
Yes, yes. And I say that jokingly, but also no, like that's the real thing. And so I guess if it comes down to it, we do have to pick something that we can leave there at the end of the day.
That, exactly that.
Yeah.
100%. I can't be dreaming about work.
No.
I can't be doing spreadsheets in my sleep. You know what I mean? Like I can't.
Hey, and the beauty about the coffee shop idea, if that ever comes to it for you or I, what a great way to build a network and community,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
that. I actually gave that thought when I was in the very early stages of feeling like, oh man, I gotta find some work. And if it's not photo because I'm over it, wow, look at all these people I could meet at some of the coolest coffee places in town and the connections I can make. And so that also helps build coaching, right? Picking
It's
something,
true.
like you said, where, there's some purpose behind it still.
Right. There's some alignment with the business that I'm trying to create. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And then the coaching, the wellness, the nutrition, like all of that is so in line.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
opportunities.
So absolutely. So
That's
I'm
so
just, and
cool.
honestly, I'm holding out a belief that the universe will align as it's meant to, when it's meant to for me.
Mm.
And I just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other and doing what I feel called to do.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool.
And then this morning I was talking to my coach and I was telling her like I'm really struggling to commit to a niche. And I think I was thinking of niching a little differently than is necessary, maybe.
Hmm.
Um, but it was a very interesting call because, she asked me a lot of questions that helped me to, I think I've got it now. However, I
Cool.
do need to still do some journaling to be able to speak to it more clearly. Um,
Sure.
and she's great. She said she's going to send me some journal prompts to help me with that. And so I'm really appreciative of her.
Aw.
And yeah, but I think for like
Do you
kind of
care to
like the
share?
common yeah, the common theme through I feel like all of my coaching and the things that I'm most passionate about is authenticity and purpose. And that speaks like those things to me, what those things mean are hearing the voice within
Hmm.
louder than the voices without. And
Wow.
I feel like we spend so much of our lives, past and present, focused on all the voices that are outside of us. What do my parents think I should be doing? What do my friends think I should be doing? What, what does society think this should look like? All of that. And we're constantly comparing ourselves to all these external things and people. And it's so hard to turn that down enough to really hear your internal voice and recognize what's your voice versus what's external voices, especially the past things, because you hear all these things growing up and whatnot, you start to take them on and think that they're coming from you.
Mm-hmm.
Like you mentioned earlier about belief systems. And honestly, I don't remember if that was before or after we started recording, but um, some of these expectations that are coming from outside of ourselves build certain belief systems inside of us that we then think are coming from who we are and our own personal values. But is it? Have you considered? You know,
Oh
it's like,
yeah.
and then,
Oh
and
yeah.
then you're living a life like you were sharing that's, you're having a certain level of anxiety every day, getting up to go to work. You're feeling a little off and you're wondering why, right? And I think that's like it all comes down to turn up the volume on your internal voice. Get somebody to help you do that, to help you kind of
Mhm.
just like look at things and question objectively, where are some of these beliefs and expectations that you have for yourself coming from? What are your core values, and how can you align your daily life more closely with your core values? Not mine, not somebody else's, yours.
Oh, that's really beautifully said. It makes me think of how to know what your voice is saying, right? So
Yeah.
if we presuppose that the that are we're looking for external voices, we're looking at the external to sort of guide us, whether that's family, society, um, social media, and we get to the point where we think something's off, like where I was at. It's like something's really off. But at the time, I didn't realize what was off. And if I had sort of listened to what my inner voice was saying at the time, it wouldn't have made sense to me. I had
Mm,
urges, I had ideas. I mean, I'm a creative, I've always been a creative, so my brain gets creative, but I wouldn't have listened to it because I needed help discerning. I needed help understanding where the awareness, I needed to build more awareness, more clarity around it before I was willing to listen to it. And
mm,
I see that a lot in creative careers. You're constantly looking for external validation because
mm,
you get dopamine
yes.
hits, right? You get acknowledgement, you get confirmation that you're on the right path, and we sort of, like you're saying, we're sort of prone to listen and tune in and run with it. Um, it's not until we realize that actually what matters is what I think and what I'm feeling inside, and that level of awareness, clarity, and understanding. Um, that's where the juice is. That's where the money is. That's where the importance is, right? But it takes time, takes help, takes coaches, takes therapists to help us get there, right?
Yeah.
Um, and when you discover that, your whole world is flipped upside down in such an amazing way.
Yeah.
But for most people, they need help to get there because
Absolutely.
they'll say something like, "Well, what does your gut say?" And they say, "Well, I don't know what my gut's saying."
Right.
That's a really common response,
Right.
right? I don't know.
Absolutely.
So
Very
then it's
common.
like, don't make a decision based on that. Let's bring some awareness to that. Let's get some clarity. Let's have you understand what that means, how that feels, and what that equates to by creating a vision, by looking at what you want, by assessing your values. So you can get to the point where when I tell you, what does your gut say, Prana? And you're like, oh, this.
Yeah.
That's where there's a foundation built underneath it.
Yeah. And that's why it was really great to even just for me to realize that when my coach started asking me the questions, because I said to her, like, this is what I'm struggling with. This is what I'd like to talk about today. And as soon as she started asking questions, I was like, I had to sit and think for a minute, but I did quickly know the answer. And that was great to just even realize that I'm at a point where I do hear my inner voice a lot stronger than I ever did before. And that in and of itself feels so empowering.
Oh, I can't imagine how you felt this morning.
Yeah,
So
I'm just
good.
like, oh, wow, this is great. I'm ready to run with this.
Let's go.
And I
Yeah.
was reflecting and sharing with her that a lot of in the past, I would often like how I would kind of describe in my own experience with that difference between other people's perspectives, society's perspectives, and my own. I was always a person who was kind of like challenging the status quo kind of thing. And I think fairly early on, I had a good idea how my own brain worked and that it was different than a lot of people. Yet I still had a level of insecurity that when someone would directly challenge it and say, well, maybe you should consider thinking of it this way or consider approaching it that way. Even if I knew that the way I was doing it was already working for me, I would question myself. And then I'd go, oh, maybe I should consider what they're saying. Maybe I should approach it differently. Then I would try it and it would fail miserably almost every time because I already knew myself well enough. I just didn't have the confidence to be like, no, I'm going to stick with my way, you know?
Ah,
And it's
yes.
interesting because I do think also that you get in certain relationships too where people kind of expect you to just do what they say, you know? And then when you don't, they feel challenged as if it has anything to do with them when it, even if it's like something totally about your own life. And that kind of brings me to um something that I thought of when you were talking was about like our process of growing up. When you're a baby, you do need to, like, you have this, I think, instinctive knowing that your survival is based on the people around you being okay and taking care of you. Like, it's based on your connections with other people because you can't take care of yourself yet, right? So those connections with other people are like most important thing. And so when you're small, you get that like you have to stay within certain parameters. Like you're always trying to test the boundaries and things like that because you want to know like what are the parameters here. But then when you get to be a teenager, you start testing again in a bigger way, in a different way. And I think a lot of parents, especially, like I know I had a hard time with it, and I've seen other parents struggle so much with it, of realizing that during those teenage years, it's normal and healthy for kids to push back, to not, to not show the level of respect you're thinking that they should, or to want to explore the world in their own ways and challenge and all of that. And I think there is a tendency with parents, number one, as a parent, you're thinking, but their survival depends on me, right? And so I have to protect them. I have to, tell them what to do still, and they still need to listen to me. And it's so hard to watch them making mistakes and having to learn their own lessons and things like that. But if you don't let go a little bit at a time as they're going through their teenage years, then you're actually robbing them of that ability to start hearing their inner voice and start learning their own life lessons. And so then what do they do when they step out into the world and you're not right next to them anymore? I don't know. I don't know what happens exactly, other than that they probably still hear your voice in their head,
Mm.
right? Which might keep them safe, but will it? My question is to what extent is it potentially going to keep them from hearing their own voice? That would be my concern.
So as you step away from being the only mentor they've ever known, essentially,
Right.
is the question, like what are they going to do now? Without you and without that voice, and is it a good thing or a bad thing? And whatever happens, is it just accepting whatever's on the other side of that, right? Because as now adults, or whatever, into my 40s, I think back to, there was a level of acceptance of like pushing your kid out, and letting them have their own voice. And I wasn't very rebellious, but that was definitely something that most teenagers went through. And just hanging on. Just hang
Yeah.
on.
I was
You know,
dangerously rebellious personally. Um, and I've come to appreciate that about myself and also appreciate that it wasn't my parents' fault that they weren't more stubborn than I was. Because my parents let go of the reins way too early because
okay.
I was a force to be reckoned with.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they
So
just
when my
really had they had nothing else under their belt. They probably just had no other skills. They didn't understand.
they didn't know what to do with me.
No.
And for a long time I blamed them for that, but I can now appreciate that they're only human and they did the best that they could with the tools that they had at the time.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and
Oh,
by the time they
yes.
realized that they needed to tighten the reins, it was way too late. And
Brutal.
so, yeah, yeah. So, I learned a lot of hard lessons on my own. I think
Yeah.
there's a couple things I took away from that. One is that I had more confidence maybe than most that my kids were also capable of learning their own lessons and that
Hmm.
they had good shoulders on their no, shoulders on their head, good heads on their shoulders,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
good heads
Yep.
on their shoulders that I had helped to guide them enough earlier on that as I started to allow them to explore the world more independently, it was, or as they started pushing away and demanding more independence, that it's okay. I know for myself, I had to learn lessons the hard way. There was no way I was going to listen to anybody.
Mm.
So,
Mhm.
it sucks to watch you make a mistake that I already made and I could give you some insight that you don't want to hear, right? And even
Yeah.
now, as they're adults, like things like that sometimes come up. And I'm like, and then I'm like, it's not my life. It's not my life,
You know what's
you know?
interesting about that, Prana, is that this is the same work we do in coaching. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you carry this belief, but building confidence is about taking action. And you only know what you're capable of until you take the action, till you move forward. And the scariest part for people is what's on the other side of that, right? They're like, oh, what if I
Yeah.
fail? I'm scared of change. And it's the same thing kids are going through. It's the same. We go through this our entire life. And it just looks different as an adult, right? We build up more fear and we build up more boundaries, more walls, more, because I mean, perhaps that's because we have more to lose as adults. Who knows? That's a theory. But it's like letting go of the reins of the kids so that they can figure it out, right? They
Hmm.
won't figure it out unless you let go of those reins because that's how you build confidence. That's how you figure stuff out, right? Um,
Right.
and maybe the difference is as an adult now, I believe that it's not failure that's on the other side of that. It's just feedback, right? It's feedback
Yeah.
for us to now know which path to take. Where do I go from here? So now there's less fear around it as an adult because I'm learning to reframe that this is a part of
Mm.
being my age and where I'm at, and that I need that feedback in order to
Hmm.
figure out the next move, right? And next chess move, I need that feedback. Um, but when you're a kid or even like a young adult, you you're just going out there and figuring stuff out through all of your mishaps and failures and making the wrong decisions, right? So I don't know. I feel like it's always there in that way of building confidence. We just have to, we mature,
Yeah.
we mature
Yeah.
and it changes. The confidence building side of it changes and matures.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. And I think because you've lived with yourself longer too, so
Mm.
you've already learned a lot about yourself through the earlier missteps or,
Yeah.
and so you have that memory to fall
Mm.
back on and realize I've been through hard stuff.
Yeah.
I've had these challenges that I wasn't expecting to be faced with that I've gone through. So now when you're faced with a challenge, you're like, more likely to feel confident that you can get through it
Yeah.
because you have that memory. And I
Yeah. The
think,
resilience,
hmm yeah, yeah,
resilience
you
factor,
build in that
right? Yeah.
resilience. Yeah.
Yeah. For
I,
me, that's kind
but
of what resilience is, right? I think.
yeah, yeah, I think so. It's knowing that you can get through it.
Yeah.
You can get to the other side of whatever challenge comes up. And that
Yeah.
everything's
Agreed.
temporary. That's
I
the
don't know if you
one.
feel this way, but there's this, so understanding that we'll get through it, right? And I don't know if we call that resilience right now in this moment, but I believe there's a good kind of resilience and a bad kind of resilience. There's
Okay,
like
tell me more.
there's like the grin and freaking bear it. There's
Mm,
there's the grind, the hustle, the disruptive nervous system, the push through the fear, push through the anxiety, push through those thoughts that infiltrate, you know something's off, but you're just like, no, I got to keep going, right? Which I can say is a big part of my last career, versus the resilience that looks like slowing down and looking at it from a different perspective,
right, taking
hiring a
inventory.
coach, taking inventory, learning in a slower way that's more intentional, that's more uh, sort of derived from a place of healing, a place of growth, right? Still hard. You're still building resilience, but we can now work with that in a very beautiful way as we enter into these later adult years versus the
Right.
kind of resilience that I built in my 20s and 30s. Screw that resilience. Sure, it helps. Sure, it got me to where I am today. I wouldn't take anything back. I don't have any regrets. But this new kind of resilience that I'm building is such a safer place to be.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It when you said, yeah, it's hard, I immediately thought of what Julie often says, which is choose your hard. Like this
Oh,
is hard and this is
yes,
hard. Choose your hard.
yes. That's it. That's it in a nutshell. We get to choose our heart if we're lucky. You know, maybe it's privilege, whatever you want to call it. We get to choose it. You
Yeah.
know, and now I
And
want to
I
choose
think
hard that's going to build something. That's going to build something that's safer, deeper, intentional, values aligned. That sheds that old version of
mhm.
choosing hard.
You know, the word fear also comes to mind of like that because I know for myself, a lot of my staying in my comfort zone, staying in a job that I wasn't happy with anymore, but I would see all the positives of it in order to justify why I was staying. Like it was
Ooh,
great that I was seeing the positives and appreciating the
yes,
positives, but it was like my gut was saying, we're done with this. It's time to move on. And the rest of me was saying, yes, but it's safe. You have good income. You like the people you work with. Like, and I'd start listing off all the positives, even
yes.
though on a daily basis, I was miserable with the work itself. I was
Mm,
done. And I kept justifying. And I honestly, if I behaved as my track record would suggest, I probably would have stayed there potentially forever. I was so relieved on a lot of levels when they laid me off because I was like, well, I would have never quit because
wow.
it was safe. And even
Yeah.
though I was so burnt out on the tasks themselves that I had to spend all day doing every day, and I was so done with it and so bored and fried, I still would have stayed because of the fear of the unknown, the fear of the lack of safety and comfort. And I think that that also plays into sometimes whether or not you allow yourself a certain privilege.
Mm, ooh,
So sometimes it's like, yes, you just literally don't have that opportunity right now. But a lot of times I do think that you might be able to see opportunities if you weren't staying safe, playing it safe,
Mhm.
letting your fear drive you.
100%. And I think that's, I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but that feels like the number one thing that keeps people doing work that they hate
Yeah.
because there's so much fear of what's on the other side. Can I make this
Hmm.
work? Can I support myself? Just all the list of things you go through that just keeps you stuck. I don't think as a society we're taught to embrace change. Number
No, we're
one,
not. We're not.
I mean, our society essentially operates in this in your amygdala. Like I just feel like everything stays right up front and it's very surface level
Hmm.
and we live in that zone as a society.
I
Whereas you
agree.
and I both know that when we bring this information back here where it sets in, that means confronting fear. That means reframing it. That means deciding we want to change the way we view fear and living our life moving forward from back here, not from up here. And our society doesn't do that. And
No.
you and I can relate 100% in what kept us in our career.
Hmm.
Um, for me, it was the fear. It was, I'm going to fail 100%. I'm going to fail. Not if, I will. It's what
Yep.
I believed. And this is what work means. And just be grateful, Bern, because the work you get to do is pretty freaking cool. People would kill for your job, literally, the kind of work I was doing. It was some of the coolest work you could get in photography. And yet, when I went home, I was not okay. When I left for work, I was not okay. So that's another interesting part of it, in that you could still have the most exciting on paper, externally, the coolest thing, and still just be like, this isn't for me. Sure, it's
Yeah.
cool. I can accept that this is a really neat, interesting, creative career where it was lucrative and on paper it looked great. And I liked my clients, loved my clients. They were so good to me, took care of me, supported me, but it wasn't for me. So to be able to
Mm.
walk away from that was really hard, into the unknown, from like, wait a minute, your job's cool and you're going to walk away from it into the unknown and
Yeah.
put yourself out there so vulnerably, like no way. So that just kept me trapped. That was the cyclical rotation in my head for
How much of
many
that,
years.
how much of that was you telling yourself those things based on, you know, maybe based on the messages you had previously gotten from society and people around you versus in that moment, people around you saying you should be grateful or, or like you said, your dad saying, that's just how work is.
Honestly, I think it was a balance of both perspective. It was what I was telling myself and my own personal fears and my own beliefs about life and how I should live, along with the external, because on the outside it was fine. I was
Hmm.
making a living. I was living a great life, living by the beach in California. I had great clients. Like the reality of it was that it was good. And I will always look back at that side of it and go, that was epic. And and then but the reality being me, right? And the fact that if I checked in my gut, I knew something was off, then the fear, then the assumptions, then the beliefs took over. And so it was this dance. I don't know, it just felt like this weird dance for many years because it wasn't awful, Prana. It wasn't this nightmare of a job I was going to every day.
Right.
So the struggle is intensified because you're sort of lost in knowing, like, well, what's real? Because on paper, this looks
Yeah.
great. What's
Yeah.
going on
And same
here?
thing for me. Yeah, same
What?
thing for me because even though my job wasn't epic, it was paying well. I was working from home. I got to travel and work and not have to take time off in order to like come see my kids. I could just come down and work while I'm here and see them in the evening. Like, you know,
Pretty great.
as if I'm just living with them for a month or whatever and
Yeah.
continue to work.
Yeah.
And I was like, how can I give that up?
Oh, interesting.
Right? Even though the work
Ooh.
itself that I was doing was like killing me slowly, how
Oh,
can I give up this amazing privilege that I have when so many people would kill for it? Yeah,
wow.
same in that sense.
Same. Same. I'm trying to think of the moment because you asked me earlier in this conversation, like, what was the moment that, that sort of you relied on to get you out of that job? What was like, when did it hit you? And it was like, oh, it was the realizing that I was living in nervousness every day. I was living in fear every day because I wanted to leave, but I didn't know how. Um, Yet everything was okay from the outside. And I think when people are assessing this moment in their life, because you and I aren't the only ones,
No,
um, what it's so important, and I'm going to take this away from today. It's so important to ask people, when did you know, and what was it? When did you know, and what was it? Because when I look back on this journey so far, that moment was so pivotal to understand that I was okay living in anxiety every day of my life. And that's not okay. So when you asked me, I recognize how important that question is for people who are sort of dabbling, wondering, what's on the other side of this? Should I get help? Can I do this on my own? Um, at what point do you decide to go to do it, to do the thing? Whether
right.
that's hiring
Can
a
I?
coach,
Am I capable?
am I capable? It's like you really have to know what you're feeling on the inside and what's driving you. What was that moment? And
Yeah,
because it strips everything away. Even if you're not in touch with your gut and your intuition yet, you know that there was a moment. I think
yeah,
maybe this is a belief I carry, but I think we all have a moment. And that moment we need to check in with. And that moment needs to get us to the point where we go, I need help. I know my
yeah,
moment. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to feel this way anymore. Whether that's a relationship, a career move, a whatever, totally internalized personal beliefs that you carry. Everyone needs that moment and need to check in on that moment and
yeah,
then ask for help. Ask for help. I couldn't have done this
yeah,
without help. Are you kidding me? I'd still be
yeah,
living in
absolutely.
California in an old apartment in my 40s. just
Right.
just going, and it would be fine, but like, no, I asked for help. So I
Yeah.
checked in and then I asked for help, and that put me on my path.
And is fine good enough? Maybe it is for you, and that's
Maybe it
okay.
is. Yeah, that would have
It's
been
not good
fine.
enough for me anymore.
Same. Same. I wouldn't change this transformation and where I am now for anything.
Yeah,
It,
me either.
I didn't know
And
what real joy was until now.
yeah,
What was
yeah.
joy?
And
Very
honestly,
different.
believing in myself is huge. Just that. Just believing that I'm valuable and that I have something to offer and that I can do this is like, and it's something that, I have to check in with periodically.
Sure.
You start to doubt again, and then you're like, no, 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 you can
Oh
do this,
yeah.
you got this. And it is very helpful to have support. to have my coach, to have the community, because that's another thing. Like, you either have to find or build a community of support as well, because we are social creatures. We
Yeah.
need community. And um and there is a lot of the work is done internally, but like you said, with support.
With support.
And you want support that while you're being accepted unconditionally, you're also being challenged to grow and to
Mm,
question what's holding you back.
so good. Yeah.
And that's the thing that, I was thinking about too, is like when we think about our ideal client or whatever, it's like somebody, for me, it's somebody that's reached that point, that pivotal moment where it's like, this isn't good enough anymore. I need more. I need to be in alignment. And I am ready to ask for help
Oh,
to see what that means for me. And and I'm ready to do the work, because there is that too, that some people get very stuck in their misery,
mhm.
and they realize they're miserable, but now it's, I'm miserable because of this situation, this person, that, and they're just stuck in the misery and not ready to take personal responsibility to make something, to create something different.
That's a new question I ask people on my clarity calls now that I
Mm,
hadn't asked before. I think I was sort of intuitively gathering that data on my own, but now I've gotten to the
right.
point where I ask very directly, uh, on a scale from 1 to 10, how willing are you to start this journey? Because I require a 9 or a 10. And talk about challenging people and being direct. you
I
know,
love that.
it's incredible what's on the other side of that now. It's such a great question I'm including. And I have to applaud the people that go, oh, and they like take a second. They think, as opposed to just telling you what you want to hear. Uh, and that moment, I'm looking for that moment of pausing and deciding where they're at rather than just like throwing out a number.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a little bit of intentionality, maybe a tiny pause, something, because we're in the business of reading humans and understanding humans and tune in to gestures and facial expressions. And so now
Mhm.
it's all part of the journey of whether people decide to work with me and whether I decide to work with them, because it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it really
it's so
is.
interesting what people say.
Do yeah. Do you ask, I'm guessing you asked that question after you've explained what doing this means.
Sure. Yeah, it's right near the end now. It's after I have a pretty good sense of the journey
Hmm.
that they'll probably go on and what they need and what kind of support I can get them, and then I'm like, do I want to work with them? Are they ready for
Hmm.
this journey?
Yeah.
Let me check in. And it comes intuitively now. At first I had to force it. I had a little note like remember to ask. And that kind of seals the deal for me. What based on how they respond, it's great data.
Yeah.
Because
And
I've signed a lot of people into my I've signed not a lot. I've signed, less than a handful of people in, and it hasn't been a great fit because they're just not willing to show up to the extent that I need them to show up, or that I would like for them to show up in order for them to feel all the benefits and experience the transformation. Like, and so no, get out of here.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because it's like, um I'm trying to think of like a good analogy, but it's kind of like um maybe you're holding somebody's hand while they learn to walk a balance beam for the first time, right? You're holding their hand, but you're not the one walking the balance beam. And
Mhm.
so
That's
if
great.
they're
Yeah, I
not
love that.
willing to step up on that balance beam and get back up each time they fall down, and they want to, let's say surrender to their fear and sit down and cry and I'm not sure if I can get back up, etc., whatever that is,
Ah,
or I can't because X, Y, and Z. What are you supposed to do? Because you're
yeah,
just there waiting to hold their hand while they do it. Like we're just there as support
yeah,
to help them become more aware of what's going on internally for themselves, where their roadblocks are, and that, but they're the ones who have to jump those hurdles. They're the ones who have to walk that beam.
yes.
And we can't control whether they do it or not.
It's very tricky. It's very tricky because it also challenges the way it challenges how we show up as coaches in regards to how much guidance do we give, right? How supportive should we be to help them on their journey, right? There's always
Right,
this tricky balance. It's a tricky
right.
balance to figure
Yeah,
out
you
how
might
much to
sit
give.
next to them for a minute and give a pep
Yeah,
talk, right?
yeah.
But
You
ultimately
almost
they
want to
can't do
carry
it.
them. You want to
Right.
carry, you want
You
to help them
sometimes
across the
want
balance
to.
beam one direction, but you don't want to keep going back and forth along the balance beam holding their hand. Like,
You want
you
to
know,
get to a point where you can step back
hmm
and be like, you got this.
yeah,
That's like
yeah,
our goal is not to work with you forever on the same thing. Like you
yeah,
might keep coming back because you want to work on new things or keep building. That's one thing. But like,
agreed.
you know, I I don't want you to depend on me in that sense. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to
Yeah,
empower you to
yes.
ultimately step away and do whatever it is you're trying to achieve on your own. So, yeah, exactly. Like if I hold your hand too tightly, or if I yank you up from your seated position and be
Yeah.
like, you're doing this, right? You might do it right now, but when I step back, you're gonna quit. And so what good is that doing you?
You know what's happened recently in this journey as a coach 2 years in, Prana, is that I have such clear boundaries now with people,
I love
very
that.
empowering. I mean, my boundaries are solid. I have no problem sharing what I'm feeling, how it's going. Challenging clients is like, I love it now. I love creating that space because it takes a while to get there, like challenging people and pushing back and setting boundaries for ourselves and our business and our in the way we coach and because we're a part of this too. And so
Yeah,
as a part of this relationship, we have to create those boundaries. We have to build our own confidence. We have to take our own risks as we go. And it feels really good to be in that place now where, I'm pretty honest with people, but always from a kind place. Always
yeah.
from a kind. It's just who I
There's
am,
yeah,
you
there's no
know?
reason to be
No.
unkind. Yeah, yeah. And the thing is that we genuinely, I mean, I believe you do, and I know I genuinely care
Yeah,
for people. Like, I
I
want
know.
everybody to live their best
Uh,
life. And so, especially if you're coming to me saying, I want help, it's really hard for me to say, in any way, shape, or form, I don't think we're a good fit.
oh,
Because this, like, the savior in me wants to be
uh-huh.
like, I can do this, I can help you. I, and like you said, over time, you start to realize I might not be a good fit for this person, for that person. I have started to refer out, especially like if I
Nice.
know that I have too close a relationship with somebody, I'll be
Sure,
like,
sure.
yeah,
That's a good one.
I could help you, but it would be very limited what I could help you with because I
Yeah,
already have my preconceived notions about you. We're too close. I already, have
yeah,
certain judgments, even if I'm trying not to. You would do much better with somebody who can be very objective because they don't know you personally.
Yeah,
And
it
I
sounds
want
like
you to get the most out of it.
jury duty.
Right? Love that. That's so funny. Yep, I already heard about this case on the news. I already formed my opinion.
Yeah, but that's
Not a
reality.
good fit.
Yeah, we're not a good fit. I'm gonna slow this whole case down. I'm not gonna help here.
Right.
Let me bow out, you know.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
there's times where I've tried it and I've been like, no, we can have like, especially with some of the young people that come to me that maybe they're friends with my kids and I've seen them grow up,
Mm,
sometimes the relationship is such that I can do it and
mhm.
remain objective. Sometimes I can't. And then I'm like, we can still have a mentorship like relationship, but it's too hard for me to not like tell you what I think and you know and give my
Oh,
2 cents. Like I can't do that for you, unfortunately.
good
Like
for
we're too
you.
close.
That is such a hurdle to get over and through the other side. Because we want
It
to say
is.
yes, right? I don't know if you can agree or if you carry this belief, but like I come from a very scarcity background, upbringing, generational scarcity is like just runs in the family. So everything's pretty much drove my life that it was money. Money drove my freedom, my success, everything that I was because I was so scared to not have it.
Mm,
And so now moving forward, uh having healed through that, which is still a work in progress, it's no longer driving me to say yes to everybody, right? um and that is probably one of the most freeing places to be within coaching for me, especially as a new
mm,
coach, as you know, because we need to make money. And so
yeah.
there's the dangling carrot. And for me to say no to that has probably been one of the biggest healing parts of my personal journey, coming from scarcity, 40 years of living in that.
Yeah.
And that's so cool. So the fact that you're on that same path and able to, you know, say no, even though
Yeah.
there's potential at some point to maybe have a client that's going to pay you, or just that feeling of like, oh no, what if this could become something, I'm saying no to an opportunity. That's freaking hard.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's really hard to say no to that.
Right. And for me, I think it's been about because I'm still struggling with my money mindset, to be completely
Sure.
honest.
Yeah, I am too. I go through waves all the time.
Yeah, but for me, it's like when I have decided very intentionally that this can't, while yes, I will charge money for my services. Yes, I do charge money for my services. However, that is not the purpose that I'm
Mm,
doing this for,
oof.
right? Like it can't be.
Yes.
Because if it is, it waters down my ability to be present and to be objective, etc. And I can't have that for my clients. So for me, the bigger goal, the bigger value and purpose in the whole thing is to provide value. So if I know that somebody else is going to give you better value than I am,
Love
it
that.
makes most sense for me to refer you to someone else rather than say that I can help you, knowing that I can only give you 50%
Oh,
because of whatever, you know.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really brave place to be.
You feel brave. Thank you.
That's bravery at its finest, Brona.
Yeah, I do feel very brave and I feel very good about it. I feel aligned. I feel like,
Oof, that's my favorite word.
yeah, I feel confident that the Lord, the universe will create the correct path for me
Hmm.
if I stay in alignment with what I feel called to do.
Oof. Can I add
And
something
I
to
have
that?
to trust that.
Do you feel like the other part of that puzzle the other piece of that puzzle is also reliant upon the effort you make and you put out into the universe, to God,
Absolutely.
to
So
your, is
here's
it
how I
effort
see it.
also based?
Absolutely. But here's how I see it. I believe that the Lord fulfills desires.
Okay.
And if you truly desire something, you're going to work for it. And if you sit on the couch with your feet up, zoning
Yeah.
out, and say, I desire to climb a mountain, you know, is the Lord even going to have somebody call you and invite you to go climb a mountain with them? Probably not, because you're not
No.
showing any, you know what I mean? Like, I think
Yeah.
we speak to the Lord through our actions. So, because we talk a lot in my faith about a balance between effort and mercy. And I think that that's where it sits. It's like if you put forth the effort, then showing, you're demonstrating through your actions what you truly desire. And
Well,
then the Lord reciprocates.
yeah.
But you can't sit with your feet up and go, I want to make $1 million. And like, no, you don't truly desire that if you're
No.
not making any effort to make that happen.
No, you won't receive.
Right.
You won't receive. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Um, yeah, it's such an interesting thing because when people talk about pursuing what you want and the universe will support you, I feel like it's twofold. Yeah. Put in the
Absolutely.
energy, get off the couch, go prove that you can walk a mile before get invited up the mountain.
Exactly.
Walk a mile. Can what effort are you willing to give in order to receive?
Right. And then there's another piece of that, and that is the clarity. And I
Mm,
love this piece because um I know in NLP we call it chunking up,
yeah.
right? When you get really clear about what's underneath your desire, like what's at the core of it, what's most important about it for you, then you can recognize the opportunities that come your way. Because often those opportunities don't come exactly the way you think they're going to, exactly the way you want them to.
Or they
They're going to
pass you
come,
by.
right. Well, they pass you by because you didn't recognize them,
Yeah, yeah,
you know?
100%. Yeah.
It's like, let's say I want I want to go on an epic vacation with my husband, right? But I can't afford it. Like I worked so hard this whole year trying to make this happen, but now I can't do it. If I don't recognize that what's underneath of that, when somebody says, "Hey, I have a cabin that's free for a weekend," you know, but I was thinking I'm gonna go to Hawaii on the beach and we're gonna do all these epic things. But somebody's like, there's a cabin you can use for the weekend if you and your husband want to go. You don't even notice that. And you're like, that's not what I wanted. Right.
Yeah,
But if
yeah.
you know that what's underneath that desire to have an epic vacation with your husband is to spend quality time with your husband in nature, for instance, then when somebody offers a cabin, you're like, okay, well, I can be really grateful for that and take them up on that because unfortunately I can't afford the picture that I was having in my head, but this
Yes.
still meets the need. This still meets the core desire. And that's
Oof.
why it's so important to understand what is your core desire,
Mhm.
as well as form some plan that you can work towards. But always hold on to that core desire because if you lose sight of that, you won't recognize an opportunity when it presents itself.
100%. Yeah, building a vision. I don't know if you do this with the people you work with, but it's one of the first things when people are stuck and talking about how hard it is and how hard life is and all the negative things that are impacting their life. I quickly move to sort of figure out the other side, which is like, well, what do you want? You know, what do
Yeah.
you want your life to look like? I had someone this week tell me, no one's ever asked me that before. And I was like, okay, have you ever asked yourself that? And he said, no. I said, well,
Like that just is so like that hurts my
it's
heart.
gut wrenching. It was gut wrenching. I paused for like probably a few seconds because I felt it, you know,
Mm.
um, and he quickly came up with the answer. And I said, do you see how quick you came up with that answer? Even though no one had ever asked you that and you had never thought about that. And he was like, holy crap. I didn't even realize that's what I wanted. And he just lit
Oh,
up,
that's beautiful.
you know,
Yeah.
and then we go, you know, you go through uh through all the phases of meeting someone for the first time. But that was a moment that him and I both got to witness as pretty cool, but also gut wrenching. No one's
Yeah.
ever asked me, and I've never asked
That's
myself. So how
wow.
do you know what you want if you don't even know? How do you? How are you questioning how you're going to get somewhere or how you're going to get to the place when you don't even know what you're going after? You know, you need that
Right.
clarity to understand. Otherwise, just like you're saying, how many things have passed by this person? How many things has he not cultivated and not embraced and not even known? Because he
Right.
has no idea what he wants.
Yeah,
But
and
yet
that's
again,
where it all
he has an
starts
idea. Yes.
because you don't even know what like because we talked about privilege and I do think that financially, socially, etc., there are different levels of privilege that people come into the world with, etc.
Sure.
But I also do believe that when we know what we want and we work for what we want, at the very least, we will recognize when certain opportunities come our way. But if we get stuck in a belief that opportunities are not for us,
Mm-hmm.
and that comes, you know, that again, that comes from society. It comes from society, it comes from your parents, like if they didn't believe that opportunities were for them.
Your
But at
partner.
some point, you've got to start questioning these things if you want something different for yourself and
Yeah.
question, are there opportunities that for some reason I may not be seeing?
Yes.
And then how do I latch on to those and make the most of those when they do come up? How do I recognize them, first of all?
Mm-hmm. That's that moment we talked about. Like it's really checking in on like at what moment, what happened to you that brought you to this call that, you know, encouraged you to email me that, you know, and just really starting there. Because if you
Yeah,
have no other place to start, you don't know what clarity is, and you don't know what awareness is, or gut, or intuition. I believe that everybody has a moment that gets
mm,
them to the place of accepting, asking, and then accepting help. Everyone has
yeah,
some moments, if not one, many. Probably
yeah.
many.
Honestly, if you're fortunate,
So,
many.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
no,
it just
I
once you see
agree.
it, it's so beautiful once you see what happens to people and how much positivity and fulfillment they now have in their life. It's like just want everybody to experience it. It's really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
really
Which
cool.
is why it's hard to turn. Like that's the other reason that it's hard to turn people away. It's because you're like, I want to experience, you know, I want you to experience this. I want to experience it with you. You know,
Yeah.
and but sometimes you know that, you know, either they're not ready, like you were
Hmm.
saying, or like they're not truly ready to take it on.
Yeah, I
They
gotta
might
check.
see it now, but they're not quite ready to take it on, or you're just not the right fit, so then they can go to somebody else.
Mhm.
But you know, it's interesting because um I'm taking, like I said, I'm taking this course in certified to become a certified personal trainer. And one of the things that they talk about is the psychology of change and how it starts with thinking about change. And then, like it can take a while sometimes to be ready to actually start acting on those thoughts.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because my husband, for instance, he's a yoga instructor. And for a couple of years, he was thinking about, I should go back and do yoga again. Maybe I should take this instructor course that would really motivate me. But then no, I'm not ready to do that, and he kept kind of putting it on the back burner. And I
Sure.
remember specifically one year that he was talking about, should I do this? And I was like, yes, you should do it. And he was like, oh, but like I'll have to drive far and he was kind of coming up with the excuses. Meanwhile, his joints were getting worse and worse. He was starting to talk about, I don't know if I can keep walking up and down the stairs. I might have to move my bedroom downstairs and I'm like, you need this, like, do it. And he's like, and that year he didn't do it. And then the next year it came up again. And I'm like, yes, go do it. Yes. Yes, it's going to be a lot, but you're going to be so grateful you did it. And he went and did it. And now, it's been like a year and a half later. He's been teaching yoga. He does yoga almost every single day. He probably does some every day, to be honest, because he's like, even the days that I don't teach, I'll at least do a few minutes here and there, like in my bedroom or, at the beginning of the day, the end of the day, or whatever. And now he's like, yeah, I still have some discomfort in my knee when I go up and down the stairs, but I feel like, I'm capable of doing it better than I have in years. And there's not a thought in my mind that, oh, I might not be able to do this soon. The doctors have told him that he probably needs a knee replacement at some point. But he's like, I'm gonna stave that off as long as I can. Like I, I'm good as long as I keep exercising. And now he's adding an exercise regime to the yoga. Like we're doing like a HIIT class a couple times a week together and on top of the yoga that he does every day. And he's feeling better and better and better. And
Maybe
at
maybe it's
64
coach
years
wife.
old, huh?
He just needs to listen to his coach wife.
Right. Yeah, he's not gonna like that. You should listen to me. Um,
Well, maybe you were the facilitator of the idea, but he
yeah.
still has to be the one that takes the action.
Yeah, I mean, he had the idea. He wasn't ready to take the action, and what I was able to do was just support him and say,
Encourage
"Yes,
him,
go do it."
encourage, or
Yeah,
yeah.
just give
And
him that
honestly,
encouragement.
we need that. We need that. Some of us,
Exactly.
I mean, just because we're doing this, just because we're the coach doesn't make us not susceptible to any of this, needing help, needing support, needing motivation,
100%.
we're not gurus. We're not, we might just be one small step ahead of the people we work with. But other than that, pretty aligned, pretty on the same path, and need help all the time, need support, need encouragement, all the things that our clients are getting
Right.
from us, we also need. And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. I
No,
think it all
it's
adds up.
yeah, it all helps and it's beautiful and this is why I do these calls and because it talking about what we do and talking about why we do it and our latest realizations around it, this continues to keep me enthusiastic about what I'm doing and
I love
feeling
that.
empowered. I love it.
Well, thanks for inviting me. Um, I
Absolutely.
agree. It's so nice to chat through some of these things um and just let it go where it goes.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's the cool part of it.
It is really cool. It is really cool. I
Let
feel
it
it.
roll.
It's so much more organic than like having a plan and because
I
if you're gonna
know.
like write an article, like if you're gonna sit and have a
Yeah.
conversation, have a real conversation. That's how I feel.
Dude. Yeah, big time. Same. Same. I do not thrive now in over preparing and over planning.
Mm-mm.
I
Yeah,
used
me
to,
either.
but the thriving was a different version of me.
Yeah.
So now I'm in
And
this other
that's what's so
company.
cool too, is we can have different versions of ourselves at different points in our lives.
Yeah,
And
I'm
I'm
digging this
loving the
one.
new
This one's
version of
cool.
me. Yeah,
I'd like this one for you too, really. I mean, I know so much
likewise.
about your past now and where you are today. And I think this is the beauty of coaching, right? Because not only are we coaches for other people, but we have to do the work in ourselves, as you know. And
Mm,
if and the paths are so aligned in order to have success in what we do. And that does include money, but it's not everything. It's like a small piece of it, the success in my opinion.
yeah,
And so I can see
absolutely. And
how
that, you know
much.
what? It's interesting because people will say, "How's the coaching going?" And I'm like, "It's going fabulously."
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right? I'm like, in terms
yeah.
of like financial building a business, that we're still working on,
Put on
but
it.
like, right,
Yes,
that's we're building.
yes. The
But like,
coaching.
I still love what I'm doing. I love the community I'm a part of.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
I'm passionate about everything I'm doing, so it's great.
Oh, that's such a great distinction. The coaching's going great.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's not based on money.
no,
What a concept. That success in what we're doing is not based on money.
it's not.
What an incredible gift that is, because I came from a career where that was what I was chasing every day, the coolness and the money. And now I'm way less cool and I don't have any money. And I've never been happier.
Right. And you're way
I
more
mean,
confident.
although I will say I am making money now in coaching, which feels really good. But boy, when I think back to my last career, I have no money. If you look at it that way, just like you, like pennies compared to what you know. But
And you
I'm
know what?
happier.
Yes, that also speaks to like a couple things. One is, what is your definition of success?
Hmm.
Which I feel like that's changed for both of us.
Yeah.
And the other is being aligned with who you really are and doing
Mhm.
what you feel called to do, where you
Yeah.
feel that you can serve humanity the best and be the best version of yourself. That is priceless.
Hmm.
That is absolutely priceless. And no
Yeah.
money could compare.
It's pretty great.
It's really
Yeah.
great. And I, for one, believe that you can take that with you. You can't take money with you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Money seems pales in significance, right? Compared
Absolutely.
to having a life or choosing a career that's purpose driven. You can find purpose in
Absolutely.
other ways. You don't have to have it in your career, but I'm choosing to do it for my career. Why not? What the hell?
Yeah. And you know what occurs to me too is, even if you're working at a coffee shop and, and that's your career,
Yeah.
if you can find ways to touch people's hearts and be your best self in that environment,
Yeah.
no shade. Like,
Yeah. That's
that's
serving
awesome.
people.
You're
That's having purpose.
you're living your best life. I
Yeah.
just want everybody to live their best life. It doesn't have to look
Yeah.
like any particular thing. It just has to be what you are called to do.
Yeah.
And
100%.
again, it doesn't even have to be like through your job,
Yeah.
but it's through who you're being.
Yeah.
So when
Ooh.
you're at work, when you're hanging out with friends, are you being your authentic self?
Yeah. Yeah. That's everything.
It is.
Authenticity, presence. Yeah.
Mm,
Your true self. Ooh, your true self. Yeah.
your true self,
All
hearing
these
your
things.
internal voice.
Yeah.
All right. On that note,
Lovely.
Bernadette, thank you so much. Oh,
So
and would
welcome.
you
Yeah.
prefer that I call you Bern?
Thank you. Oh, Burn's fine. I
Okay.
don't care either way. It's kind of fun when someone says my full name because I always think of my mom. Uh,
Aw,
you know, and she's just the coolest, and so I just love that. But yeah, either way, Burn's cool. Bernadette's
that's
cool.
great.
Doesn't matter.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining. I hope we get to do this again soon.
Thanks, Brana. Yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
having me. This was great. Yeah. Time just
love
flew
it.
by.
Right? Yeah. We always end up going overtime. It's crazy.
It's fine. I carved out time, so we're good. Yeah.
Love
Very
it.
cool. See you soon.
All right. See you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.